Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the 2013 Edison Township Mayoral Debate. We are proud, as the Edison Chamber of Commerce, to be able to host this great event this evening. We have plenty of the Board of Directors from the Chamber here this evening, and we're glad that they're here to support this really thread of democracy that is one of the big opportunities we have in our country. I don't know if I said my name is Robert Weeks, but I'm Robert Weeks, and I'm the chairman of the Board of Directors. So thank you for being here. I would certainly like to thank Dr. O'Malley and the Edison High School for hosting us this evening, as well as the support and that we've gotten from the League of Women Voters in providing a very professional event this evening. A couple of just ground rules. Please don't let your cell phone interrupt the debate tonight, so please manage that appropriately. We're asking that no videotaping be allowed other than approved by us. The Edison School District will video the event, and it is the property of the school. It will appear on TV 118 on their website subsequent to the debate. A couple other housekeeping notes. We will not acknowledge questions from the floor. Some of the students that are helping us have cards. If you'd like to ask a question, please fill out the card, and they will filter it up to us to try to get into the debate. The moderator and the moderator only will ask the questions. All candidates will be given the chance to answer each question, and we have received many, many questions, more than we really have time to ask. So we're going to limit the questions to the time that we have at hand. Deborah McMillan is here to be our moderator, and Deborah is from the League of Women Voters in Hightstown, East Windsor, New Jersey, and she's been very active in the state chapter of the League of Women Voters. So she's served on several illustrious committees and has a great past, and she participated in the 2010 census, and also in her history, she was a professional canoeist. But one of the things that we're excited that the League is here, because the League is a big supporter of democracy and the things that we are trying to accomplish tonight. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn the debate over to Deborah so she can share the rules and get us going. Thank you.
Excuse me. This is an awkward position. Can you hear me? To give you an idea of what's happening tonight, we're starting with an introduction. We're going to, an introduction by the candidates. We're going to a question and answer period, and then we are ending with closing statements, so that you'll be able to know where we are, and we will end within an hour of our beginning. The candidates have all agreed to, I'm sorry, is that up? The candidates have all agreed to this format. The questions have been collected, some from you, some from other members other people who sent in questions in advance. And with that, I'm turning my back on you, because they're the ones that you're listening to. I am not introducing them. They are introducing themselves in order to get the introduction that they like best for their campaigns. Mr. Gaspari, we're starting with the introductory statement, and you're first, and you have 1 minute each.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I wish to thank all involved for inviting me to participate in this debate. My name is Gaetano Gaspari. I was named after my grandfather. My friends and colleagues call me Guy. I'm a husband, a father, and a homeowner. I have lived in Edison for 50 years, except for the 2 years that I served in the U.S. Army. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in civil engineering, and I'm licensed as a professional engineer, planner, and land surveyor. In the past, I've worked for the New Jersey Department of Transportation for a paving and excavating company, had my own engineering consulting firm, worked for various municipalities, including Edison as an engineer and planner, and I'm presently Assistant Director of Public Works in Piscataway. As you can see, I have worked both in government and in the private sector. This is my first time running for any political office. My goal tonight is to demonstrate to the residents of Edison a contrast between myself and my opponents who are presently the incumbents in our government.
Thank you. Candidate Lanke?
Hi, my name is Tom Lanke. Tonight you will hear a lot of rhetoric. Some will be true, unfortunately some will not. So you're going to have to separate out fact from fiction. I'm a third-generation, lifelong Edisonite. I have been Edison councilman and chairman of its finance committee for the past 4 years. 4 years that I'm extremely proud of, because in spite of what you might hear tonight, we were able to reduce the mayor's proposed budget of 10 points and reduce it to 0 tax increase over those 4 years. We were able to do that with sound fiscal analysis that I learned in my 30 years of corporate finance and management experience. Along with stabilized taxes, I believe in enhancing municipal services, strategic planning, and forecasting, and better police protection and fire safety. We must deliver these things for our working families, our children, and our senior citizens. They are the backbone of our community, and I know I'm most qualified to stand behind them and stand up for them. I want to be your next mayor.
Thank you. Candidate Risigliano?
Good evening. I'm Mayor Antonia Risigliano. As a councilwoman, I began to fulfill my strong desire to serve the public. As your mayor, I have learned that true leadership is not about empty promises and vague statements that offer everything and achieve nothing. You don't need to change mayors to find someone willing to lead. There are those who would rather tear down than build up. My opponents in this race have repeatedly stated what they are against, but very light on details regarding what they are for or how it will be funded. Over the past 4 years, I have presented a strategic agenda which builds upon our successes and incorporates ideas for our future. We have begun an extraordinary rebirth under the most difficult economic conditions, and with your support, I hope to continue the journey we began together. I ask you to vote column C, Tony Risigliano, for your full-time mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Prasad?
Thank you. Thank you, Edison High. Thank you, Edison Chamber of Commerce. And thank you, League of Women Voters. I am Dr. Sudhanshu Prasad, and I'm running for your mayor. I have lived in Edison for more than 20 years. My children have grown in this town. I am rooted in this town. I'm invested in this town. However, over the duration that I've stayed here, Edison has become dysfunctional, especially the government. We need a new direction. We need new leadership. My fellow candidates are good people. They all want to do better things. But I think their hearts and their minds are not in the right place. The heart may be. There is only one candidate who has the vision, the leadership, and innovative ideas, and that is me. At the end of the debate, I think you'll be able to tell the difference. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll go to the Q&A section of the forum. Candidate Lanke, you'll get the first question first, and then we'll go around the room to give the others. It's also for 1 minute. In your opinion, what is the most important pressing issue facing Edison Township you would address, and how would you resolve it?
Well, I think the most pressing issue at this point is the lack of leadership in the mayor's office, and I think all things stem from that. Communication, morale, I think that that's probably the driving force in what we see. We had a gag order in place a couple of years ago that wouldn't permit department heads to talk to the council, and that's no way to lead. We talk about strategic, we're looking for strategic plans. We're looking for strategic initiatives, not just a listing of items, but we really need a full listing of what is the plan, how are we going to pay for it, how are we going to accomplish it. We need to become visionary, not reactionary, and I think that that's probably the biggest problem that I see right now with the township.
Candidate Resigliano?
Thank you. The most pressing issue, obviously there are many, but one of them is tax stabilization. And I've resolved this issue by maintaining a zero tax increase during my term in office while maintaining all essential services and retaining our Moody's AA2 credit rating. I've also brought in new businesses which have increased tax revenues and provided employment opportunities. I've been told that I'm a ribbon cutter, but remember, every ribbon equals welcoming a new business to Edison. From 2010 to 2013, Edison has experienced a loss of assessed value of more than $300 million, which equates to a loss of tax revenue of approximately $3 million. At the same time, we lost almost $3 million in state aid. I will continue to do what I have done since taking office. I look forward to another 4 years of keeping a responsible, watchful eye on your tax dollar.
Thank you. Candidate Prasad?
Thank you. To tell you the truth, I wish it was just one pressing issues. Edison has many, many pressing issues. However, the most pressing issue that I believe is the lack of trust that people of Edison have in their own government. Our administration will restore people's faith in the government. If the people have trust in the government, if they see open government, a transparent government, a government that they can communicate with, I think we will be on the right road and Edison will be a far better place. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Candidate Gaspari?
Yes. During the leadership of my opponents, local property taxes have doubled. Since they were elected, property tax increased by 136%. In the last 3 years alone, spending has increased over $5 million. I would conduct a forensic accounting of our budget and go department by department to eliminate waste. I would work with the business community to make our town more business-friendly and to attract ratables in Edison, so that we can offset the property taxes and the burden for the residents. I think streamlining our permitting is also a portion of it. As I walk the streets campaigning, the main issue that I get from the people that I talk to is the unaffordable taxes in this town.
Thank you. We'll now go to candidate Resigliano with the next question. Currently, the mayor position is full-time. Do you support or oppose the Edison Township mayor position being full-time, and why? And how would you restructure the administrative offices, if at all?
Well, frankly, I'm a little offended by this question, only because Edison is the 5th largest municipality in the state, not by your statement, but that it's even asked. Edison demands a full-time mayor. I can assure you that this job cannot be done on a part-time basis. Dr. Prasad will be busy with his medical practice, hotels, and other businesses. Mr. Gaspari works in Piscataway and lacks the experience. And Mr. Lanky, on the other hand, is a different story. In his campaign, he says he will provide full-time supervision. What does this mean? It means that he will hire someone you did not vote for and pay them with your tax dollars to run the town. Also, I would ask if you would be comfortable with a part-time mayor when the demands of this office really require a full-time position. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Prasad?
Thank you, ma'am. I think this is one of the most pertinent questions that's out there while I've been knocking on the doors. Mr. Gaspari absolutely correctly has no experience in elected office. But we also have Mr. Lanky, who works for many corporations, sits on many boards. He's overextended. Do you think he'll get a chance to answer that phone call? And then we have Mayor. Mayor wants to work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. That's a full-time job. That's a full-time job. But who answers that phone at midnight? Who answers that phone at 3 o'clock in the morning? My experience in my profession, you are trained to be a 24/7 person. I will be your mayor 24/7, and I will answer that phone call anytime. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Gaspari?
Yes. Well, this is an important decision for the town's future, and we've been going back and forth with part-time, full-time. I think there should be a resolution by the township stating whether this is going to be a full-time or a part-time position. I myself am ready to retire from Piscataway, so I would most likely be a full-time mayor. And the issue of my not having any experience, I have unique experience because I've worked in the trenches. I know where there's waste. I've seen it. I've working at Piscataway at this point. When I started in 2006, we had 57 people working under me. Now we're down to 43, and we're still doing the same job. And that was all through attrition. So experience sometimes does matter in different ways. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Lanky?
Yeah, I think it's most important to make sure that you have the most qualified individual that can do the job. I think it's about the quality of leadership, not necessarily the quantity of time that you spend. We've worked on the Finance Committee through weekends, nights, holidays. We will do the same in the mayor's office. The position of mayor I view as a CEO. And as a CEO, you set a strategic plan, you build initiatives around it, you set goals and objectives, and you have those assigned to different individuals in your management team. That's the position of the mayor. That's how I would run the department. I wonder if Dr. Prasad would be timely to the mayor's position because he hasn't been to the council meetings. So that's just a question I would have. And I would never abdicate the role of mayor to anybody else. Never. Although that has been done currently. Thank you.
Thank you. All of the time that we lose the clapping is time that you're not listening to the candidates. I recommend that you listen. This is the time that they have to speak. Candidate Prasad, how would you tackle reducing or stabilizing property taxes, and what shared services or privatization would you support to reduce municipal expenditures to save Edison taxpayers?
Thank you. Edison is a very, very strategically placed place. Edison is at crossroads of the world. All the major highways of this town, of this state pass through here. We have real estate. We have empty warehouses. We have empty offices. But our real asset are the people. People who have skills. People, you go to any train station in the morning and you see how many skilled people go out of the town to work. We want to bring them back. We want to bring businesses here, small and big, all of them. I think that's the way you stabilize the taxes, by broadening the tax base and increasing productivity right here in our town.
Thank you. Candidate Gaspari?
To continue on that vein, I think that's one of the ways that we would stabilize taxes, by bringing more rateables into town through businesses. But I think the way our permitting and approval methods here in town have created an unfriendly atmosphere for businesses. I think I would promote a campaign, a PR campaign, where we would make Edison business friendly. That has to be primary. And I think I would look at all the permitting processes and review them one by one, most likely put in a task force to see what's reasonable and what's creating obstruction to our businesses to enter our community. And with regards to shared services, I think that's a great idea. I and Piscataway have already shared some services there. We use Edison's health department to take care of our animal control problems, and we should continue to do that.
Thank you. Candidate Lanke?
You know, I think that we would do much of the same thing because, as I said, the Finance Committee of the Council was able to deliver 4 zero increase budgets. And we would continue looking at that, but looking at it in a much better way. We would bring back zero-based budgeting. You know, we haven't had the opportunity to begin zero-based, but in my administration, we would begin zero-based budgeting. Just to add, in the first 3 years, the Finance Committee added $3 million to the revenues and reduced $4 million from appropriations from the mayor's budget. That's a fact. You can look that up. You know, the final year, this year, when she finally got that we were not going to accept tax increases, she delivered us a budget with zero tax increase, but with too much surplus that the state would not even certify her proposed budget. So we would do much the same, but we'd go back to a zero-based budgeting and see what we can do from there. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Risigliano?
Yes. Edison participates in shared services with Middlesex and Union counties, the Edison school system, and neighboring communities. These include Middlesex County Health Officer, the sanitary sewer services with South Plainfield, Scotch Plains, and other entities, animal control with Metuchen, Donnell, and Scotch Plains, and Piscataway, paving programs with both the county and Highland Park, elevators inspection services with Woodbridge, the Regional County Nutrition Program at our Edison Senior Citizen Center, and we are the host site for Meals on Wheels. So shared services are alive and well in Edison Township.
Thank you. You began, is that right? Okay. Candidate Gaspari, the next question starts with you. Edison Township has several favorable assets, including its diversity, location, educational institutes, and labor force. What would you do as mayor to increase economic vitality, including attracting new businesses to Edison Township and retaining the ones we have?
Well, we touched on that already, and I'm glad we have the opportunity to discuss this further with regards to our diversity. Our town has a diverse patchwork of people with different ethnic backgrounds and diverse ideas that haven't been represented by my opponents. Our mayor and council have viewed the business community as ATMs for wasteful spending and have nickel and dimed them with fees and regulations that have driven ratables out of town and killed local jobs. I view the business community as partners in turning around our local economy and bringing jobs back to our town. I will assemble a bipartisan group of small businesses from around our town to come up with specific recommendations on how to improve our business climate and attract new job creators to Edison. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Lanke?
I think the first step would be to reestablish the Economic Development Agency. I'm not sure why it doesn't exist at this point, but I think that would be a great starting point. I think the other piece that we would need to do is improve the image of the town. I think the image of the town is ultra important to businesses wanting to move here. As you said, the location is ideal, where every major roadway goes through. Diversity is a plus. But some of our press lately has kind of ruined the image of the town, so I think we need to go on an image improvement and a little media to try to show the best of Edison, show that we are business friendly, and actually show that we are professionally run and business oriented. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Risigliano?
Yes. As I've done throughout my tenure, I will continue to work with the Edison Chamber, meet with business leaders, and highlight the benefits of Edison Township. I've met with the Lieutenant Governor and Commissioners of State Government to assist businesses interested in moving to or expanding in Edison. Sitting at the table, having open discussions on needs and expectations fosters understanding and growth. This personal connection benefits not only the business community, but extends to all residents in Edison Township. Let me make abundantly clear, each candidate sitting next to me will make promises that they'll attract new businesses. As your full-time mayor, I've had the opportunity to cultivate these relationships to ensure that businesses we bring not only broaden our tax base, but add to our quality of life. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Prasad?
Thank you. Did Mr. Lanky mention Edison Redevelopment Board? I thought I heard that. You know, the first thing when he came to office with Mayor Risigliano, the first thing they did was not to mention Edison Redevelopment Board once. They actually did away with it. Just the last week, the Star Ledger reported, and I'm quoting here, Mayor, they had nothing to do. And now I'm hearing it. Of course we need Edison Redevelopment Board, but Edison is a big, diversified town. We just don't need one solution. We need multiple solutions for many different areas. What Clara Barton needs are very different than what Ford plant site needs. That's very different than what Oak Tree area needs. So we have to have an approach which is different, which suits the different areas, the different needs of the local community. And we need partnership with those community and come with solutions. And thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Lanky, the next question starts with you. We continue to hear from the business community that Edison Township has a lengthy and uneven process, i.e. red tape, for building and renovation and sign permits. First, do you believe Edison's permitting processes need to be more responsive and user-friendly, or need to be exceptionally more responsive and user-friendly, particularly the sign ordinance? What would you do as mayor to make our process with respect to renovation, sign permits, buildings more competitive?
Well, we just talked about that we need to attract more business, so obviously we do need to be more friendly to developing business. We need to really look at all our ordinances and try to make sure that they do fit into the 21st century. I think some of our ordinances have outlived themselves. You know, for a number of years under this administration, I know that permits and inspections were taking an inordinate amount of time. I know that's been fixed recently, but I think we need to take it a step further, you know, make it more business friendly. We need to actually look at the zoning boards and planning boards and try to look into expediting those types of things. At the same time, I want to make sure that we don't forget that we need to protect the residents and make sure that their quality of life is not interfered with. So we need to provide that balancing act.
Thank you. Candidate Risigliano?
Thank you. This is an issue with which I'm very familiar. Streamlining the construction permit process has already begun. In November 2009, after the election and before he left office, former Mayor June Choi made a 4-year appointment of a construction official who single-handedly slowed the process to a crawl and created red tape where none should have existed. My administration took action after hearing from frustrated residents and business leaders. We replaced the Choi hire with an experienced construction official who has streamlined the permit process and expedited the time. As to the sign ordinance, there are specific rules that were created on public feedback. At a recent debate in the Clara Barton section, Mr. Gaspari stated that he would put billboards up as a source of revenue across Edison. Would you want a billboard in your neighborhood?
Thank you. Candidate Prasad?
Thank you, ma'am. Some of you may know that there was another debate last week, and one of the residents of Clara Barton, the debate happened at the Clara Barton First Aid Squad office. One of the residents mentioned that it took him almost a year to get a simple permit. Residents of Edison don't want to apply for a patio permit in spring and get it in fall. We need a system which is accessible. It is inexcusable that we have a system where it takes so long. It is archaic, it is outdated, and it has to be reformed to match the 21st century needs that people have. It has to be quick, and that's the only way to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Gaspari.
Yes. I would create a task force to review all the permitting process and to make sure that they're not onerous, that they're not an impediment to prosperity, as long as they don't are not negative towards the health, safety, and welfare and the quality of life of the residents of Edison. I've been on the other side, applying for applications, and I know what it feels like when you come into a community and you feel intimidated rather than being helped to handle the permits and the approval process. So that's one of the other things that I think that should be done. We have to instruct the people that work for Edison that they're there as public servants. They're there to guide the people that come in for the permitting process and to help them to get them through as quickly as possible so our businesses could get on track, start employing people, start paying taxes, and become prosperous.
Thank you. You can't be next. I've done this wrong. Candidate Resigliano, you're next, sorry. Regarding open space protection, maintenance, preservation, and expansion in Edison, would you speak specifically to your commitment, specific proposals, and implement strategy for your plan?
Thank you. Open space preservation means that nothing can be developed on that property and it will remain pristine and in its natural state. I continue to support the efforts of the Army Corps of Engineers in the Raritan Arsenal cleanup. The Dismal Swamp, Middlesex County Greenway, and the Raritan River Walkway are examples of the properties that have been and will continue to be protected during my administration. During my term in office, due to the combined efforts of our grant writer and our Director of Health, we have secured more than $500,000 in Clean Communities grants. These funds are used for township beautification programs, litter cleanup and enforcement, and pollution reduction. During the next 4 years, I will continue the plan put in place to preserve and protect open space and limit overdevelopment.
Thank you. Candidate Prasad.
Thank you, ma'am. One of our greatest assets is open space in the town, and one of the greatest protectors of that are Edison Wetlands Association, and I want to congratulate and recognize them for the work they do for the township. We have Dismal Swamp, vast majority of which is in Edison. We have many parks, big and small. People go, enjoy their life with their children, with their family. And of course, we have a large riverfront, which is almost inaccessible. For a town of our size, with the diversity that we have, the talent that we have, the resources we have, I think that's one place I think that we have to make it for the people so they can go, enjoy their life, lead a life for the pursuit of happiness. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Gaspari.
Yes. With regards to open space, when I was planner in Edison, I was instrumental in creating the open space zone as a zone so that most of our parks and open space were either a residential zone of whatever size the houses would be allowed to be placed there. But I created the open space zone so that nothing else could be built there but open space. I was also instrumental in the Greenway. I went to meetings at the county TCC, that's a Transportation Coordinating Committee, for years and years to force the railroads to give us that property, so that we could put in the Greenway. So I am for open space. I also think that a lot of our parks and facilities aren't up to par right now. They should be cleaned up, they should be fixed, and we do have a 0.01 point of our levy towards that task, and I'm not sure where that money is used, if it's put in a trust fund and used for that particular use.
Thank you. Candidate Lanky?
Yeah, open space is extremely important. I had asked for an audit of our open space trust fund, so we're going to be receiving that. I think that's important. We also have to do an audit of our landfill closure. That's important. I went out the other day and visited some sites, and the CIC site comes to mind, and I'm still not sure why that's not a park. I think we need to make that into a park, and we need to look at possibly purchasing the adjoining site. We need to expand the Dismal Swamp Conservation Area. We need to expand that so that schools can better utilize that service like they began to do this year. Also went down to the Raritan River and the mud flats, and the contamination there was astonishing to me. So, I think there's a lot to do with open space. It's very important, and we need to start moving forward with it. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Candidate Prasad, we'll start with you on this question. As of today, Edison Fire and EMS volunteers still do not have any form of agreement or contract in place to respond to 9/11 calls. Where do you stand on volunteer fire and EMS, and why is Edison allowing outside mutual aid ambulance support, which takes a long time for ambulances to arrive, instead of using local ready and willing volunteers? Take any part of that and go with it.
I think that's something which is close to my heart, of course. Over the last 2.5 months, we have had no volunteer EMS. When Mayor's office had proposed the changes, they were supposed to be part and parcel of the new setup. Almost 3 months later, those trained hands, those equipments, generations of volunteers, they are sitting idle, wasting away. I think this administration and this new contract is hoping that they will just fade away. Under my administration, they will be back in town helping the people that they have been helping for generations and generations. I think we need them back. We need our fire volunteers also. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Gaspari?
Yes, it would seem to me that at one time we had the fire rescue, and that was abandoned. And my understanding that was a very good system. Now, little by little, it seems that the volunteer EMS are being shunned to the side. I think that's a service to the town that should stay. As far as I know, that this service is free of charge to people, and now whoever wants to get ambulance service will have to pay for it. And those that have no insurance, of course, it's going to be costly. So I think the volunteers should be continue to be groomed and brought back into the system.
Thank you. Candidate Lanky?
Yeah, volunteerism is very important. I think it's what's built this country, and I think it's what's going to keep it strong. So we need to include volunteerism. The EMS service, though, is crucial, and obviously we need to do it in the best way that we can. I think with the new contract, the first month, I think the results have been very favorable. I think the average response time has been approximately 6 minutes. If you look at best standards, I think that's about what the best standards are when you look countrywide. I think there needs to be more communication and working between the contract and the volunteers, and I think that's ongoing now because I think there needs to get through some labor issues. But I think there needs to be a mixture of volunteerism as well as the paid service. That's what would work best.
Thank you. Candidate Rosigliano?
Yes, thank you. My administration did not and will not close any volunteer squads. They are privately owned. And ambulance response time has been reduced from 8 minutes to under 6 minutes. And we do surpass the national standard. Public safety has not and will not be compromised. I continue to encourage Division of Fire to fully utilize our volunteers. I will strive to support and find a place for the volunteer EMS companies and encourage cooperation between JFK and the squads. It should be noted that Mr. Lanke cannot participate in negotiations on this issue due to his employment at JFK. This presents a conflict of interest and places an additional burden on the township. As your full-time mayor, I will continue to devote time and energy to Edison volunteers without bias. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Gaspari, over the past many years, Edison has experienced development in overcrowded schools and congested roads. What are your plans to best contain development or to direct development and to correct this situation?
Well, basically, Edison doesn't have much left to develop, so a lot of it would probably be redevelopment. And I welcome redevelopment because what will happen is old dilapidated buildings will be rebuilt into creating better ratables for the town. So that would be my focus, to look at what's old, what's empty, what could bring the ratables back to us, and give the municipality a better look, so that we have newer buildings rather than the old buildings that are still there.
Thank you. Candidate Lanke?
Yeah, I agree. There won't be a lot of development. In fact, there should not be any residential development. It should just be redevelopment. The town itself is pretty congested. As you said, the traffic is very congested. We need to do some traffic studies. We need to look at schools and see how we can expand schools or build new schools and find locations for that. But obviously, we need to fit that into the budget structure.
Thank you. Candidate Resigliano?
Yes. As most of you know, the school system in Edison is not governed by the municipality, but rather by the Board of Education and the elected school board, with more than 50% of your tax dollars going to support public education. As a municipality, we really have no authority running the school system, and our involvement is just collecting the school tax and distributing those dollars to the Board of Ed. As far as overdevelopment and overcrowding, obviously these are decisions that the members of the school board, the Board of Education, and when you vote on April 15th, you decide whether your tax dollars are going to be used in the best possible way. So as a resident, obviously I have a very distinct interest in what happens with the school board. However, this is a decision that rests solely with the Board of Education and the elected school board. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Prasad?
Thank you, ma'am. Edison does not have much area to develop, especially residential. I think it has to be recycled. I think the redevelopment of the industrial area is very important. And for that, I think streamlining of the permitting process is absolutely important. I think in the past, and mayor had caused the problem at one time, eminent domain taking over the private property to give it to private developers on Oak Tree Pond area, which cost this township $6.5 million in redevelopment. Those costs we cannot permit in this township. I think the property should be of the people, and eminent domain should only be used when it has to be for a public good, not for benefit of private developers.
Thank you. We've time for one more question, or maybe a second if we go quickly, but I don't think this is a fast question. I'm going to reword it slightly. There has been a rash of misconduct by some members of the police in Edison. I'd like each of you to talk about that and explain how it's not going to happen again. The question as asked, however, goes on, Can you explain why Edison, the 5th largest city of New Jersey, doesn't use the civil service system of hiring and promoting uniformed employees? So that can be part of your answer.
It's me. First, let me say that there are a lot of dedicated police officers out there. You know, there are a few that have strayed, and those we must deal with. Civil service, I don't think, is the answer. I think the answer is that we need to create a code of conduct, ensure that we communicate that code of conduct, and make sure that we tell everyone that what behavior is accepted, what behavior is not accepted, and build a zero-tolerance policy around that behavior. Also need to build in progressive discipline. You know, a lot of people say in government, you know, you can't build in disciplinary, you can't terminate people. Well, you can do that. You just need to do it in the right way. So you build in progressive discipline, you make known how you're going to do that, and you can terminate people for misbehavior.
Okay. Candidate Rosigliano.
Thank you. First, let's make sure we understand that civil service is not a panacea. Governors for 4 decades have been trying unsuccessfully to reform a bloated, outdated bureaucracy. The township cannot just adopt civil service for police and fire, which was suggested in the question. It would permanently put all township employees in civil service. The cost to renegotiate the 11 union contracts would cost millions of dollars. I crafted a complete overhaul of the police hiring and promotion system with the aid of the County Prosecutor's Office and the Police Chiefs Association. The council buried that ordinance that would enact these reforms. Here is my suggestion to the council, led by my adversaries, Mr. Lanky and Dr. Prasad. Stop playing politics with the division of police and the delivery of public safety services, and pass the ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Prasad.
Thank you, ma'am. One of the first things that happened when I became a councilman of Edison almost 6 years ago was there was a process called state accreditation of the police department, which professionalizes police department to the highest extent. When mayor came to the office and Mr. Lanky came with him, one of the first things they did was disband the whole process. Now, we have very large number of police officers who are absolutely upright, outstanding. We have a few bad apples, and we have to weed them out. There has to be accountability. There has to be zero tolerance for anything other than the best behavior. And I think, thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Gaspari.
Yes, I concur that the majority of our police officers are fine public servants. And I also concur with Mayor Sigliano that civil service is not the answer. I think we should resolve our problem ourselves. I think that the promotion and hiring methods should be done through a panel rather than an individual, the mayor, basically. And that should stave off any cronyism or nepotism or favoritism. I think our police department should be held accountable for what they do. There should be a no-tolerance policy for the officers, because as you know, with a gun and a badge, they have tremendous power over the citizens of the town, so they should be held fully accountable to their actions.
Thank you. We'll take one last question, and I'm going to merge 2 different questions. As candidate Rosigliano said, the school board is in charge of the schools. That's not the mayor's realm. However, there are several questions that have been asked about mayors working with the schools, so let me ask 2 of them, and you may take of those 2 however much you want. How would you support and work with the schools to better enhance all segments of the community? And 70% of our municipal taxes are for schools. What would you do to enforce and/or limit the number of persons, including multiple families, living in a single-family home?
Well, I don't know that we could go into, well, we could, I guess, go into homes to see if there are multiple families, but that would be the purview, again, of the Board of Education, I guess, through their enrollment. But one of the things, as far as working with the Board of Education, we encourage class trips to come to tour Town Hall. They tour for our Division of Police, the firehouses, the animal shelter. We also employ many township high school and college students in our summer recreation programs, and we have seasonal employment opportunities with Department of Public Works. Of course, our crossing guards are township employees, and they're there to ensure the children's safety. You know, those are the ways that we can work with the school board, that we do indeed work with the school board. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Prasad.
Thank you, ma'am. I know value of good education. My parents placed a huge premium on excellence in education. Schools are a vital part of good community. It attracts families to the township, which enhances our property values. Children excel in every field, and they become well-rounded and productive citizens of the country. My administration will work with school board to enhance the school life of kids. But one of the most important things that I will do is try to bring the money the state owes us. We get at Edison school system maybe about $13 million a year, whereas Patterson and Trenton and Newark probably get $500 million each. We will do everything in our powers to involve our local legislators, every elected person, so that we can correct that and get our money due, which is due to Edison.
Thank you. Candidate Gaspari.
Yes. Even though the mayor doesn't have administrative authority over the school boards or the schools themselves, I don't see why the mayor can't collaborate with them in every possible way that's positive. One of the things that I could think of is to create an education foundation. It would be a nonprofit entity with trustees where you would solicit the businesses in town to contribute. And you could use that money to supplement a lot of the school functions, some of the sport functions, some of the trips. And you know, that being that it would be a nonprofit organization, I think you know, when you solicit the businesses, I don't see why they wouldn't do that. It's been done in other municipalities, and I think that's one way of supporting the schools.
Thank you. Candidate Lange.
Yeah, I think we actually started to work together this year when the school budget was voted down. The council committee that was assigned to that budget did work with the school board and the superintendent to actually achieve, I think, the first time a mutually agreeable solution to that. One that could fit into the school system and not really change services, and yet be responsive to the voters who voted down the school budget. So, you know, I have talked to the school board, spoken to Dr. O'Malley, and, you know, we're going to sit routinely on an ongoing basis and work collaboratively and see what we can do as far as sharing services or what areas we could have as support. If we join together, as Dr. Prasad said, there is money that we are duly owed from the state, and maybe if we join forces, we have a better chance at getting that money. But we need to work together on a daily basis.
Thank you very much. We now switch to the closing section. You each have a minute and a half rather than a minute. And we start with Candidate Prasad.
Thank you, ma'am. You heard the problems, you heard the solutions, and you heard the commitment of the people. I think the problems I will encapsulate in one phrase almost. People of Edison need quality of life. And quality of life means then when they're at home, They are not burdened about burdening ever-increasing taxes. When their children are playing out, they are not worried about their safety. When they are driving and going about their daily business, about their daily life, they have the infrastructure that they can get by. Those are the problems. The solutions are separate. We need to attract businesses, whether it's small or big. And for that, we have the infrastructure, we have the manpower. But I think the most important thing is the commitment. And I'm the one who will provide that commitment. A mayor who wants to do a full-time, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, a job. To paraphrase a famous president, John F. Kennedy, I have a team which is experienced in governing with roots in the community and ready to make Edison move forward. Please vote for me and I'll be your mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Gaspari?
When I first moved into Edison as a teenager coming from Union City, the town seemed like a quiet rural area. As years passed, it developed into a dynamic and diverse community, almost a metropolis with many assets. However, with this development, unfavorable conditions began to emerge. Edison was at one time noted for its low tax rate, but during the past several decades, our taxes have risen exponentially, creating a financial burden on our citizens, especially the seniors on fixed incomes. We have seen corruption, cronyism, nepotism in our government, and dysfunction in our police department. It has now come to a point where my opponents, who are members of the organization in power during this time, cannot get their act straight. There has been constant fighting and bickering within the current administration and council for numerous years. How could government be effective under these conditions? It is time for Edison to reboot and start anew. My goal as mayor is to provide accountable, transparent, effective, and responsible government for Edison. I am independent of any individuals, groups, or special interests. My allegiance will be only to the citizens of Edison. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Lanky?
You know, I think this election is the most important election in Edison's history. Edison's at a crossroads. You know, I believe the choice in front of you is quite clear. What I ask you to do is sit back, look at all the candidates running for office, and I think where it will lead you is in the direction that my team, Robert Deal, Sapna Shah, Alvaro Gomez, and myself offer the best qualifications to move Edison forward in this difficult time. You know, we won't accept wasteful spending. We will open lines of communication, not squash them with gag orders. We will include all levels of government and community. We will not allow mismanagement or any misconduct or misbehavior. Let me share my vision of Edison for you. I see a town hall professionally run with morale improved and communication. I see bipartisan committees reaching deep into communities to find out what their issues are. Edison's a very diverse community, and we need to embrace that diversity. We need to reach into those communities, find out what their unique issues are, work together, bring them up, and then build one town and one Edison. We need to build strategic plans, long-term, short-term. We need to build a roadmap to success on those plans. We must encourage economic development to stop the bleeding that we see in the rateable that we talked about. So we need to bring everybody together. We need to work together. We need to make this town great again, and I ask you to together join me in making this town the great place to live that it once was. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Rosigliano?
Thank you. As the first woman mayor of Edison Township, I have functioned in what has previously been considered a man's vocation. As you may well imagine, there have been some major obstacles to overcome. As the daughter of an immigrant, I understood the reality of hard work and perseverance in order to succeed. Public service has always been a part of my life. My work ethic and leadership abilities are well proven. Leadership is the willingness to make hard choices and sometimes unpopular decisions. We have made tremendous strides to ensure that the citizens of Edison can look toward Town Hall with pride and not disappointment. I have fought hard to transform our reputation into a town that can be acknowledged as an innovative community of the future, where economic opportunities increase steadily for a new generation of Edison residents. We must rally together and summon a renewed spirit of hope that Edison's best days are just on the horizon. A future filled with unparalleled opportunity can be secured for every resident. That is the future that I will fight to deliver over the next 4 years. I am your mayor. I am a mayor for all people. I ask your support and your vote on November 5th, column C. God bless you.
Thank you very, very much. I think you very much respected the citizens of Edison by being prepared and coming and giving good feedback to them so they can make a great decision. The candidates have all agreed to be here for the next until 8:30 on the floor in case you want to ask individual questions. So they will be around at your disposal, basically. So once again, thanks to the Edison High School and Edison Schools for hosting us tonight. Thank you to the candidates for a great evening, and have a great evening. Thank you for coming.